Hey everybody, Conscious Medium Brandon Russ. I hope that you guys are enjoying my new setup here, my new angle, my new everything, my new microphone. I know I'm trying to figure it out. I want to come to you today for a very good and important reason. I wanted to be able to connect with you and talk about what's going on with this Uranus square to Saturn or Saturn square to Uranus. It can be looked at in either way. And the reason being is because I know that we talk about this with Penny, and I know that you guys are, a great follower of me and Penny and vice versa and that sort of thing. But I wanted to come on and actually talk about this, about the American politics of what's going on right now. Now, in short, what this basically is, here at the bottom of the chart, I want to point out what Saturn to square Uranus looks like. First of all, you see the symbolism right up here, right? Where you've got the H with the line through it. That is actually Saturn. You'll find that in the first house. And then you'll look over here to the fourth house. Kind of looks like it's the all-encompassing. The circle down at the bottom, that is Uranus. So that is square right now. And what that means in that energy, and especially here in the first and the fourth house, this is about the rebellion of personal attributes that are being displayed on who you are. What is rising out of you? What is your first house? What is your structure? Who do you think you are? Saturn squared to Uranus can mean a whole bunch of different things. It could mean a complete upheaval about how you do things. By the way, this is the reason why you've been going to work for this entire week going, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? What am I up to? You may be a teacher for 30 years and want to quit today. You may be an accountant and the best in the top of your class, and you're like, I don't want to do this. You may be a salesperson with a pipeline ready to go, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. All of those things, by the way, I'm going to work on my lighting. It looks like I just got a tan while I'm sitting here. So on one side of this is a structural upheaval. It's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity where this rebellion and these things that might assault people, it's also a rescue code. It's also the ability that when you're under assault, when your structure and your foundation is turned upside down, there's there for people to help you. There's an opportunity for them. We want to be the light in the world. It's an opportunity. I'm going to talk about a few of those things here really quick. So that's what this looks like. And again, Penny and I actually talked a lot about the trine that's going on. If you take a look at up there in the 8th house, you also have Mercury. There it's kind of raining down on what Saturn's doing and what Uranus is doing. It's really kind of fueling it from a communication standpoint. So and again, it's in retrograde. So you've got this communication barrier or this catalyst or what have you. And communication is the key. I'm about to point out a few things that are really going to blow your mind in terms of like how these things are used, right? So I'm going to bury this a little bit, and I want to talk about this man right here. I want to talk about Mr. Lindsey Graham here for a second. And again, we're not political here, but we are pulling for the United States Constitution. And no, we're not talking about being a federalist or a constitutionalist. What we're talking about is our rules are set for a reason. During this time, this is how Lindsey Graham has actually created chaos. He has decided to start discussing a bill that is completely unnecessary, but pushes into the forefront the conversation and discussion about Roe v. Wade and abortion rights again. There is absolutely no reason for him to do it aside from grandstanding. Oh, they also know that it's coming, whatever that is, and they're trying to create as many layers as possible before they have absolutely no clout whatsoever. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lindsey Graham. Thank you for your service. We're all filled up here. Speaking of being all filled up here, let's talk about Ron DeSantis for a second. Now, again, before you think I'm anti-Republican, I was a registered Republican for over 30 years. I am no longer. Because people like Ron DeSantis, although he came in blazing guns, a lot of good ideas, he did the third rail for what most people would consider an abomination. I'm not talking about what he's doing to schools or trying to neuter Disney or any of that other stuff. That's politics to me. When you become inhumane, much in the same way that we are all about the idea that Ukraine needs its sovereignty, I'm just going to lean back and wear my shirt for a minute. And Penny and I did a great in-depth as to what this charting actually looks like right now. So go check out Whiskey and Bagels. I'm going to talk about another video I did here in a second that you need to check out. These two back-to-back will tell you everything you need to know and why people are flying off the rocker. But this asshat, Ron DeSantis, shipped a bunch of immigrants up to Martha's Vineyard. First of all, he violated a whole boatload of issues. He violated more things. The Department of Justice is going to be on this. We have a process, by the way. This process is Saturn. The rebellion to make sure it gets challenged. And by the way, good ideas should get challenged. But this Saturn, Uranus squared, this guy responded in a way to say, how about if we send those kids and babies up to the Martha's Vineyard? Treated him inhumanely, and then was seen joking around about it and talking down to them. Value all life. Period. And by the way, can you really get to a point where your citizens, by the way, here's a little news flash here around DeSantis. I don't know if you've run the polls or not, or you've taken a look at things and, look at your population. Close to 30% of Florida. And again, I'm old on this statistic. It might have changed. But I remember reading something somewhere around Jeb Bush era that about 32% of everybody in Florida was an immigrant within 15 years. This is how you treat them? Just an idea. You might want to be a little bit softer on it. But remember what I said when I said this Saturn-Uranus square also presents opportunities about structure. What did the good people of Martha's Vineyard go ahead and do? I'll get my face out of the way. They took care of them. They brought them in. They treated them as their own. I'm happy to say this sort of blew up in his face a little bit. By the way, very much Saturn square Uranus. I cannot believe that Ron DeSantis did something to make Red Sox fans look human. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. Tough year. See you next year. But I want you guys to really kind of understand that this Saturn square to Uranus is also the opportunity to give care and compassion to someone who's been upheavaled. By the way, this is also the calling sign for things like natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, that sort of thing. Cross our fingers. Let's get through this together. This also is a calling card for us to be able to care for one another in a different way. To let down all the rules and things like social norms, like, oh, they're different from us. Well, good luck, buddy. I got some green beans still growing out back. Forgot to pick them. Why don't you grab them? No. Look at these people. They took them in. They said, listen, guys, we're a little overwhelmed. This isn't our specialty. We don't usually get this here. But how about some chatter? That's a big double middle finger. And again, you made the Red Sox fan and the Red Sox nation look good. Shame on you. I love you, baseball guys. Last but not least, I want to take a look at one more dynamic. That really kind of culminates everything from how we communicate to one another, but then also what we look to do in terms of change. I'm going to say it right here, guys. This right here ain't normal. You've got grown men on a golf course with no golf clubs. By the way, this is what Mercury retrograde looks like when you're paranoid and the walls are closing in and you're getting cornered, like, say, I don't know, a Saturn square to Uranus. This is what it looks like. This is 100% what it looks like. It is without a doubt one of the finest moments I've ever seen in a former president. And put my logo here. Might as well get a little run on this, huh? I mean, after all, it's not like I put my name on every building and every shitty wine that's ever out there. It's not like I created a bogus university full of college credits that won't actually exist. No, I actually give people tools for their journey. Big difference. Tarot class coming up here soon. Intuitive development, you can still get in. Send me a message, Brandon at spirittreeconnections.com. Still get you in, get you caught up on the recordings. No, this asshat has, and he wears a red MAGA hat. So you make it very clear as to who he is. What could they be talking about? Could they possibly be talking about Order 66? In an interview on September 12th, I believe. What day is today? No, it's September 14th, 13th, 14th. He went on a radio show and basically talked about how people are going to be very upset if he's ever indicted, and that will be the time where they will revolt. And oh, by the way, remember this guy right here that we kind of had up here in a second? I'm going to bring him back up. Didn't he actually say out loud, oh yeah, I'm afraid of the revolt of the people and the blah, 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 blah. He's a mouthpiece. He's an agent. Is he in this picture? Doesn't have to be. He was busy building a law that didn't need to be passed right now. Didn't need to be looked at. It's not double jeopardy. It's duplicate of duty. You didn't need it. Lindsay, why would you do that? You're trying to draw the attention away from the fact that 40 subpoenas went out in the last 2 weeks. By the way, that is Saturn squared to Uranus. That is saying we have a process and a structure. And by the way, those of you that think that I'm anti-Trump, I was kind of pulling for him early. I'm like, well, if he can kind of show some atonement and be like, yeah, you probably shouldn't grab him. Ugh, come on. What is this, 1950? I think some of his ideas were actually pretty good. His execution in his megalomaniac attitude has rendered this position. Meeting at a golf course with no cell phones. I need you to come in. It'll be bigly. Let's meet on the 15th. Nobody ever looks there. By the way, if you see one of my balls, just kick it. Oh, they're getting kicked all right. The left and the right. He has bold-faced attacked the United States, who is, by the way, in a Pluto return. I'm going to be talking more about that here in a minute. But during this Pluto return, it's about getting it right. Pluto goes station and then heads back over the sweet spot of a return. The United States is getting three returns. You can take a look at my retrograde report to talk about why it is that that's important. But for the sake of this argument with Saturn square Uranus, oh, it's a dark day, my friend. This rebellion coming into the Saturn structure. And again, you could look at it in the way of well, it's finally going to be upheaved and it's finally going to go this, that, and the other thing. If you want to take the United States position here, not a political position, but the idea that we are a constitutional government, we have been under assault and it's time for us to go back to some basics. That doesn't mean we become constitutionalists. It means that we work with the flow of the law and it's not to be manipulated. We are meant to have transfer of power, peaceful transfer of power. We're meant to have dialogue. We're meant to have whatever. And oh, by the way, I'm calling out every single senator in the last 50 years, every single president in the last 50 years that contributed to the idea that you could be bought or sold against a system you were hired for. You were hired to do a job, Donald Trump. You used it for your own faculties. Insert any president, vice president, congressman, representative, justice. Do you know what's coming for you? The rebellion of the structure. We're no longer looking at this and saying, we don't want you to have corporate sponsors, Senator. We don't want you to be able to sell our government secrets just because I declassified them, so it's okay that I have them. No, that's not how it works. We have a structure. We have a process. And by the way, the Department of Justice gave him such a solid. They were trying for years, 18 months to say, now listen, Donald, you talked about this letter from a certain Korean superpower, not even superpower, but you know what I mean, from a certain government, and you haven't returned it. Could you just kind of mosey it on back here? Then they're like, we're going to get a little serious. We need to make sure we have this. And then they're like, why don't you come down and just find it? I'll have my best lawyer here just sign off on it. Nope, looked everywhere, looked underneath the sheets and everything. Looked underneath the carpet, looked in the basement. It's a very busy place. It's a beautiful place. Let me show you a picture of myself. Have you seen that picture in the foyer? Oh, I'm so going to make that the thing. The YouTube placard. But last but not least, I'm just going to say it like this, guys. This Saturn square to Uranus, honestly, is the best thing that could have happened to us. It's the hard lesson that is the understanding that we have to begin to value anything and everything that who we think we are. This is how astrology becomes real, guys. When you have particular energies and then you see the trend of the people that are going to do it. And I'm not talking about the upheaval and the conversation that like Ron DeSantis puts a whole bunch of people at, oh, by the way, at the Florida taxpayers' expense, by the way, on a plane to Martha's Vineyard. Like, what? Last but not least, you've got the idea that this is our opportunity to get it right. Look at our structure, rebel against our structure, and keep what works. I want you to watch the Order 66 because Donald Trump feels this square very much so. His rebellion is about taking away your freedoms. It's about taking away everything that made the United States amazing. Pay attention. He's about to pull this order. He has gotten hot under the collar, and you tell me what that meeting was about, and I will tell you it is about him pressing a button and having every single disgruntled American convinced about lies and him being the victim. It's time to pay attention. Go watch my video, Order 66. Go ahead and apply this Saturn square to Uranus to it. And I want you guys to have a great day. Remember to keep going as we love and care for one another. Here's the heart tap, and keep going.